Hi, friends of Music Theater Wichita. I'm Aaron Kaburick. The last time I was in Wichita was with the 2016 production of Jesus Christ Superstar. I played King Herod, and I loved my time there, and I wish I was there singing and dancing right now. We all do. But in the meantime, they have reached out to me and asked if I would do a masterclass with you guys. And I've decided to do something a little bit different. I thought it might be interesting to talk about self-tapes, and not just self-tapes, but also, how that can apply in Zoom calls. Because let's be honest, for those of us who are actors, singers, dancers, we are going to be doing these kinds of self-tapes for quite a while now. And for those of us who are tuning in, who are not singers and dancers, but just interested, we are going to be doing Zoom calls for a long time. So this will also help you look good in those Zoom calls, because let's be honest, we don't want to look bad. Please, I keep a shirt by my Zoom area that I wear for Zoom calls just so I can, look decent in the Zoom calls. So here we go. Self-tapes. It is a necessary evil for actors. I don't know a whole lot of actors who love them, partially because we work in theater and we feed off of an audience, we feed off of response, and you don't get that in a self-tape. When you hit the stage, you can gauge the temperature of the audience and you can change your performance accordingly. And it's the same thing with an audition. When you go into an audition, you can feel the room, you can change your performance based on the room. And with a self-tape, you don't get that. The one thing you do get with a self-tape is you get the opportunity to go back and do it again. For example, I have done the intro to this about 3 times because I flubbed it. So this is the first time I've made it all the way through the intro, and I'm going to continue on. So you do get to go back and fix some things, but it still doesn't, it's not that live feeling that we all adore in theater and why we go to theater. So, let me just jump in. The first thing is I have this wonderful apparatus that I'm not using right now because I wanted to show it off. If I was using it, it would have made my setup a lot easier. But it is your phone attaches here, and then there's a ring light right here, and it just plugs into a USB port. It's really handy. A lot of computers, you can just plug it right in, clip it on your desk, clip it on the computer, and then your phone just clips in right here, and you're good to go. You got your built-in lighting. I travel with this even pre-pandemic, because if I'm out of town and somebody calls and says, hey, we need to see you do this song, or whatever, I have that at the ready and I can just set it up, and I don't have to worry about taking lampshades off of lamps to get good lighting, or holding my phone up with books in order to get the right angle. So I travel with that. They're on Amazon. There are many different versions of it. You can find one that's right for you. They're not expensive. So as an actor, take a look into that. If you're just somebody who's working from home and you want to look good in the Zoom calls, also take a look. It's really, really easy and affordable. So take a look into that. So I do a lot of online coaching, and here is what I notice a lot. First of all, if we're doing, now this doesn't apply to the Zoom call aspect, this applies to actors who are doing a scene or a song. When you're doing your scene or your song, you do not want to look directly into the camera. The minute you look directly into the camera, you break the fourth wall, if we were to use a theater term. And when you break the fourth wall, what happens when you break the fourth wall? So let's take, for example, the stage manager in our town. When the stage manager breaks the fourth wall and talks to the audience, we, the audience, become the scene partner with the stage manager. And we get taken into the story with him that way. Now, when it's for an audition setting, the person on the other end of the camera is going to be wanting to adjudicate your performance. They're going to want to, watch your performance, enjoy your performance, and not be a part of your performance. They're not going to want to be your scene partner. So as a result, you want to place your scene partner just a little bit to one side of the camera or to the other. Maybe above, maybe below. Above and below, you would use to your advantage. For example, let's say you were a student talking to a teacher. You might put the teacher just a little bit above, so we get the idea that you as a student were sitting at your desk and talking to your teacher above. Or what if you're playing a parent and you're talking to your kid who's sitting on the sofa? Then you might look below the camera to give the viewer on the other end the illusion that you're speaking down to your child, or whatever the scenario is. But that helps you with status. If that is confusing to you at all, put your scene partner to one side or the other. 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, that's the best case scenario. One side or the other for your scene partner, and not directly into the camera. Now, backtracking a little bit, the time when you would want to look into the camera is when you slate. So slating, for those of you that don't know, is something like if I were to send in a videotape submission of myself, I would first do a slate. So I would try to do a full body shot, and I would simply say, "Hi, Aaron Kaburick, auditioning for Jesus Christ Superstar for the role of Herod. Thank you." And that would be the only time, and then I would cut right there. I would take a cut, and then I would edit my slate in front of my actual audition. So that would be the only time I would look directly into the camera. And a word about the slates, and actually, the acronym I like to use for a lot of this is KISS, which you've probably heard a lot. Keep it simple, stupid. Like, don't overthink anything. Keep all of this simple. So in the same way that when you walk into an audition room, you want to show off a nice personality, but you don't want to be that person who's like, "Hey, how's it going? How about this weather today, right? I mean, it's so hot out there. But anyway, listen, I got some great material lined up." You know, that will drive the person on the other side of the table crazy. So keep it simple. Let them see this nice personality. Let them get a sense of who you are just by your aura and just by your warm smile. And let them look at you and go, "I'd like to know more about this person. I'd like to, you know, have a coffee with that person." And when I always say like that, have a coffee with that person translates to, I want to be in a rehearsal room with that person. They seem lovely in the room. They seem like somebody who would be, you know, agreeable and have ideas and be ready to work and be a joy to be around, which, let's be honest, that's we want to be with those kinds of people. So for your slate, keep it simple, stupid. Just state your name. Usually they'll say what they want you to say. But if not, your name, what you're auditioning for, probably not your representation if you have representation, or even your information, because that would be submitted with your video, your email and all that would be with it. Sometimes they'll ask for your height. I don't typically give it up unless they ask for it, but that, you know, that just varies. So that's the only time you're going to want to look directly into the camera, is when you're doing that slate. Now, if we were to bring into the Zoom aspect, of course, look directly into the camera. It's so easy for us to look at ourselves in the screen like I'm doing right now and be like, "Oh, my hair, oh, I look good." But look into the camera, and then it looks like you're talking to your friend and in this weird pandemic time, and that's what we want, is to connect with people, because we miss that and we need that. It does not matter what your background is, just KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Just keep it plain. So I have just this lovely wood paneling behind me. It's very simple. You don't want anything busy. That's the big thing. You want them to focus on your performance and not be looking behind you. Bookshelves, you know, for a Zoom call, even for a Zoom call, to be honest, think about how many times you've been on a Zoom call and you're looking at, "Oh, that's what they have in their house. Ooh, look back there." Or even like the celebrities we've seen on Jimmy Fallon or anything, you're looking behind them, and we want to focus on the person. So keep your background as simple as possible. If that means hanging up a sheet, go for it. Give that sheet a little bit of an iron first, because we're going to be looking at the wrinkles. The other tip I'd like to say with that is try to contrast what you're wearing with the background so that you pop a little bit. So, you know, ideally I would have worn something like maybe a bright red or a bright color that would have, you know, been a nice contrast to this brown. But no matter what, I don't wear like brown if this is the case, because then you just blend in. You want something that will allow you to pop a little bit. Patterns, that's another thing. You don't want a whole lot of patterns. Absolutely, if that's what you have, go for it. If that's what you look good and feel good in, do that, because that's such an important thing when we're auditioning and or interviewing via Zoom, or even having a phone conversation with friends via Zoom. You know, if you feel good in it, wear it. If it's too crazy and busy, maybe find something a little bit simpler. Typically, you want your shot to be from the belly button to about 2 inches above your head. So I'm a little far away right now for our purposes, but I'm going to be moving the camera a couple times, so I wanted to be flexible. But that's typically what you want. Think belly button to about 2 inches above your head. Now, some people might be doing dance auditions. That would be a full body shot. There might be reasons where you need the full body shot. So this is not written in stone. That's just typically the best case scenario. The thing about that closer shot, by the way, you know, when we slate, we're at a full body, and you might think, oh, well, they're going to see my full body in the audition room, so I should do a full body shot for my monologue or my song. But the thing about it is, on tape, we really do want to connect with your eyes and your face and your voice. That's more important to us on tape, and that's going to read quite big. So we want to get a little bit tighter. That's what that's about. Gestures. Gestures are tricky. Gestures read so much bigger when they're on film. Watch TV and you'll see what I mean. You don't see a whole lot of gesturing. You see hands down by their side. So I recommend trying to remove as many gestures as you can, because they are distracting. That's what we look at. I don't know who would be gesturing like that, but we see that tenfold when we're on camera. So, you know, maybe you're seated in a coffee shop for your scene. Your hands would be simply clasped right here in front of you. Or if you're standing up and you feel like the gestures are creeping in, my favorite task or trick for that is to put your hands in your pockets. Don't tell anybody, but that's the best trick. Hands in the pockets, and that also relaxes you as well as a performer. Now, sometimes you don't want that relaxed aspect for your scene, depending on what the scene is. So just keep that in mind. If the relaxed aspect is not good for your scene, then don't do that, and be aware of your gestures. But if it's okay being relaxed, put your hands in your pockets, or hands behind your back, or clasp them in front. That's if you're somebody who over gesticulates like me. Fancy cameras are not necessary. An iPhone will do the trick for auditions. I think every single casting director will say that. The iPhone, or whatever your smartphone is, has everything you need, as long as you, what? Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. Nice shot, simple background, simple outfit, and light and decent lighting. So let's talk about lighting, because that's one that gets people hung up with quite a bit. So right now, I'm sort of facing in the wrong way for the best lighting in my room, but I wanted to have this simple background behind me. But I'm going to pick up my phone and I'm going to turn, and you're going to see the better lighting for me as I turn. So now you can see how lovely that lighting is. So all that is my window with the blinds open and the natural light coming directly through. I do have my overhead light on. I have to be careful as a bald man to make sure I'm not shiny. But that natural light is honestly better than a ring light. It's there, it washes over you perfectly. The ring light, sometimes you have to figure out where to put it. And you can see if I go back, now my face gets kind of shaded on this side. But as I turn, look at that, I have full, nice, complete lighting. So a window works great. A window plus a ring light, you can really, you know, knock it out of the park and have some good lighting. It's really all about playing with the lighting in your room, wherever you are, wherever you do your Zoom calls or your tapes. It's all about just moving around and going, okay, that's bad. Like, that's very bad. Like, that's just terrible. So you can kind of move around and go, okay, I like it here. Now, the next trick I like to say is once you do that, bring your finger up and hit the screen, and it locks in that light right there wherever you're at. So that's a nice little handy trick. I also like to recommend to film a little bit above. Again, just because I wanted to not use my setup so I could show you. I don't have my exact angle. I like a little bit above. Takes care of that double chin that many of us are concerned about. It just knocks that out of the park right away. And it's a good angle. It's a flattering angle for most people. So a little bit above. Accompaniment tracks. So there are many, many options out there for accompaniment tracks. There is an app called Accompanist you can download, and a lot of tracks are all on there. Utilize, music directors from school, from work, from church. Call upon them, especially these days where we're all at home. I'm sure they would be thrilled to, throw a couple bucks at them, and they'll record a track for you. And then, in the same way that you kind of have to play around with the lighting, you want to play around with where are you going to put your speaker and what are you going to use to play the track. So for me, like right now I'm recording on my phone. I have my phone resting on my computer, so my notes are right there. I would probably have my scene pulled up or my music pulled up right there so I could reference it. Not during the scene, I would, be off book, but so I could look back and forth and go, oh, right, that's the line there. And then I would use the iTunes or whatever music app on my computer and just play it from there and see if that ends up being a good sound. Sometimes you'll find that putting a Bluetooth speaker on the floor is the best place for the phone to pick it up and for you to hear it as well and to stay nicely in tune and in rhythm with the music. Another thing a lot of people do is play that music oh so softly behind or near them and sing along with it, and then layer the track in with a music editing app. It's much, much easier these days. It is something that can be figured out, but that's not necessary. You could totally go for it, but it's not necessary. You'll see if you were to watch like the Sondheim special that was on YouTube with all the stars singing, that's what they did. A lot of them had earpieces in. A lot of these specials you'll see, they have earpieces in where they're listening to the accompaniment, and then the editor actually edits in the accompaniment after the filming is all done. So by all means, that's something that you can go for if you are technically proficient that way. So some tips. Now, again, a lot of this deals with auditioning and not so much about Zoom calls or interviews. But when auditioning, I like to say use a parent, friend, or spouse or sibling as your scene partner. Put them directly off the camera, so there you've got eyes to look at, and you know exactly where you're looking, and you don't have to worry about looking into the camera or looking at yourself on the screen to check yourself out. You're looking at somebody. It also keeps you a little bit more engaged. It gets your nerves going a little bit, let's be honest. It's nerve-wracking performing with somebody else, especially a family member. Come on, that's not easy. So I just like to say, whenever you can throw that aspect in, that really will help you. It'll just heighten your performance a little bit more. Film horizontally, not vertically. So opposite of how I have done it this time around. You want to, I'm not sure if I can move it, but you want to film this way, not this way. You want to do portrait, you want to do landscape, not portrait. The reason being is it matches up with our computer screens, it matches up with our TV screens, so that is the best way to film, the best angle to put it. You do not need fancy editing. iMovie will work just fine. If you're in a bind and you just have to send a rough, crude clip, I'm sure that the casting director would be happy with that as well. If you are editing, I find a handy thing to do at the very end is to flash up your headshot and your name. It just reminds them of your picture and reminds them of your name, and it also buttons the clip nicely. Throw that on there, I think. That is pretty much everything I have. Self-taping is awkward and weird and hard, and sometimes takes a whole lot longer than just walking into the room and auditioning in front of the people. But we can't really do that these days, so this is our new normal for a while. So I hope these tips have helped. I hope they haven't confused you more. And if you're not an actor and you're using this for Zoom purposes, I hope you gain some insight out of that as well. And stay safe, everyone, and be well, and wash your hands and wear your mask so we can beat this soon and be back at Music Theater Wichita singing and dancing glorious songs. And all right, take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.